only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome, TGIF Devil's Advocates. Aaron the Grievances, how you doing, little buddy?
I'm awesome, Crudy. Happy Friday to you. Got our pal Evan on the board and screening your calls. And, of course, happy Friday to us all. I told you we'd make it.
Dominic, we saved the best for last. We got the best lineup of the week. We got Scot Ross, the aggressive tweeting Gemini friend of ours. He's quite ethical, with or without the appointment. Scot Ross joins us at 4:30 Central Time. And then one of our very favorites, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Maggie Daun. 5, she's going to make the happier hour happier. And Daun, we're going to bid Adam Kinzinger, the congressman from Illinois, goodbye. But the lead today, perhaps, Daun, the most important story of the day, according to Politico, the January 6th committee is going to make three criminal referrals of Donald Trump on Monday. And it will play out live right here on the Civic Media app. And, of course, right here in 92.7 Devil Radio in Madison. I'm here today. Slick. It's slick roads. There's light snow falling. And on top of the earlier snow, it's getting slick out there. So be careful. Worried about my kid. He's at a wrestling.
Yeah, I know, man.
A little nervous about the road conditions.
Well, they got to learn sometime, Crudy. Yes, Monday, 3 criminal charges, according to Politico, going to be filed. An historic event. You're going to hear it here live. A little bit of the detail here, Crudy. Among the charges,
My only fear with the kids today, Bon Jovi didn't warn him. Slippery when wet.
thank you for that, Michael. You give love a bad name. Among the charges, among the charges that
a prayer here.
Oh, give me some bad medicine. It's a Friday. Among the charges that subcommittee proposes for Trump, insurrection. Number 2, obstruction of an official proceeding. And number 3, conspiracy to defraud the United States government. And it wouldn't be a Donald Trump situation if the word fraud or defraud wasn't somehow included. 3 criminal referrals, according to Politico.
And we will play out the live hearing starting about noon. My understanding, it's going to be a little briefer affair, about 90 minutes. And my understanding is they're going to vote as a committee, I suspect unanimously, Dom.
Yeah.
To bring criminal charges, or at least to refer criminal charges to the Department of Justice. And Dom, you know our good buddy, James Santel. And he'll do the morning cannolis tomorrow morning, 9 to 11, right here on the Civic Media Network. And then on Monday, post-January 6th hearing day, the very last one, because, we lost the Congress. So it will be disbanded. The January 6th committee will be disbanded, thrown to the wind.
Well, the Republicans, as they assume their committee chairs, they're not going to continue on this very important work, Crudy. I mean, you think if a president, let's say it was, I don't know, maybe Joe Biden or maybe Barack Obama, if they were involved in an insurrection or obstruction of an official proceeding or conspiracy to defraud the United States, if that were a Democratic governor, president, don't you think they would be very, very interested in continuing on their investigation?
Well, they'll investigate Hunter Biden. That's got to count for something. 844-967-2789. Friday, we air the grievances. And you can be a part of this program. I'm sorry. Just finish with the thought that James Santel will be on Monday's show at 5 o'clock. And now you go.
Okay, now I will go. Politico also reporting that it is unclear whether the Select Committee's final report will recommend additional charges beyond the 3 described to Politico, or whether it will urge other criminal charges for other players in Trump's bid to subvert his 2020 loss. So we're getting teased here a little bit. We gonna have to wait, but I love a little heads up here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. To justify incitement of insurrection, the report references U.S. District Judge Emmett Metta's February filing ruling saying that Trump's language plausibly incited violence on January 6th when a mob of his supporters besieged the Capitol. The report also cites the Senate's 57 votes in last year's impeachment trial, Trump's second, to convict him on an incitement of insurrection charge passed by the House. The select panel's report also notes that in order to violate the insurrection statute, Trump does not need to express agreement with the rioters, but rather simply needed to provide aid or comfort to them. Aid or comfort. I mean, that's something that you don't really think about when you think of Donald Trump, unless it's in, of course, the criminal capacity, because he sat on his ass for 3 hours while his mob attacked the thin blue line.
But he's still giving aid and comfort to the January 6 people, right? Thinks they should all be let out of jail.
Well, yeah, but it's costing him $99 a card.
Pardons for everyone. Blessing from the cult. Anyways, Dominic, there's another grievance. My actual grievance.
Yes.
Other than the fact it's not Monday yet. I'm looking forward to Monday. That's a strange thing to say. First, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Then I'm looking forward to Monday, and the January 6th reporter, at least large portions thereof, will be released Monday before the January 6th hearing plays out live right here on your Civic Media Network. But Dom, I got to go out of town this weekend. It's a working weekend for me. I'm driving up to the Northwoods again, up to Wexy 1260 territory, up to Amory, Wisconsin. And hoping to build some relationships. Let's just say that. Maybe find a voice of the Northwoods. But I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive on slick roads. Last time I drove up to Amory, I mean, the weather report said, oh, good weather. Yeah, until you get to Eau Claire and I'm driving through snow squalls. I'm like, what the hell is this? Well, I checked the Amory weather and I checked the Madison weather. But you drive through like 3 different time zones to get to that part of the state. Or at least it feels that way. Sure would like to take a train. A decade ago, we had the opportunity, high-speed rail in the state of Wisconsin. Nearly $1 billion federal investment coming to the state. And your buddy, Scott Walker, the former Republican governor of the state of Wisconsin, basically campaigned on the premise, I'm going to hold back time. I'm going to stop all progress in the state. Because, you know, we, the taxpayers, with this enormous, and I mean, look at the budget for the state of Wisconsin. What are we up to? $70 billion per biennium? I mean, I haven't looked recently. Maybe it's more than that. But the problem, according to Scott Walker, is we could be on the hook, we, the taxpayers, for like $2 million a year in track maintenance. That was
Yes, that was it. Yes, that would take the federal money, almost $1 billion, build this thing up, and the state would be on the hook for $2 million a year in annual track maintenance.
Now, they promised the construction and the ongoing running of this new high-speed rail would create like 13,000 jobs. And Scott Walker made a big promise, 250,000 jobs. Dom, he didn't reach that promise in 8 years. Because he kept killing jobs. He kept doing stupid things. He killed what? He killed not the Bucks Arena. He hoisted the paying for the Bucks Arena on the taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin. He killed the high-speed rail. He killed broadband expansion. And also the casino that the Hard Rock tribe wanted to build in Kenosha, Wisconsin. They were going to give $250 million so the taxpayers didn't have to, and they were going to build the Fiserv Forum. I mean, that was a hell of a deal, a twofer. Except Scott Walker, about 2014 timeframe, he was going to go run for president. And he got a letter from 400 Christian conservatives in Iowa. Please don't. Then he probably got some campaign cash from Sheldon Adelson.
Right. Don't build that casino. Us Christians in Iowa don't like your sinful casinos in the state of Wisconsin.
But 10 years later, more than 10 years later, since the election of Scott Walker, we in the state of Wisconsin have wanted for infrastructure investment. Because we turned it back. We said, hell no. Not the internet, not the high-speed rail.
Not legal weed.
No. Nothing that had Obama's name on it was going to be good for the state of Wisconsin. We still are one of the unique states and that the state of Wisconsin has not expanded Medicaid. Do you know how many billions of dollars the state has flushed down the toilet? How many people, poor Wisconsinites, just above the poverty threshold, have been forced into Obamacare exchanges, ACA exchanges that weren't really set up for people at their income thresholds. You're supposed to be eligible to 136%. But Scott Walker had a unique way of doing it. He pushed families, people with children, he pushed them, if they were above 100%, pushed them to the Obamacare exchanges. Remember when Barack Obama came to town, Daun? We saw him down at North Division High School in Milwaukee. And what was the occasion?
Milwaukee signed up the most people for Obamacare in the entire country as a percentage.
And why did I speculate at the time that would be? A big metro like Milwaukee. Why was it necessary? Well, of course, because the state of Wisconsin, under Scott Walker's tutelage, refused to expand Medicaid. And they forced people that were and should have been Medicaid eligible to an exchange where even with subsidized premiums, they couldn't afford the co-pays. They couldn't afford it. It was set up for people with higher income structures than them. And oh yeah, he killed the train. Well, here we are a decade later. Dom, new opportunity. Amtrak wants to include Madison. No, it's still on Madison. We got to get our act together. We got to pick a location for this train. Yes.
I want to be clear, Cody. It wasn't just that Scott Walker killed the train. Scott Walker killed the train to a cost of Wisconsin taxpayers of about $50 million. We could have paid for that $2 million of maintenance for 25 years for the cost that it took to get us out of the deal. $50 million.
Scott Walker killing the deal with the manufacturer of the actual rail cars. Talgo cost the state tax $50 million?
Yes.
It was more than that.
It's 50.
Come back. Devil's advocates. Riding that train. It's a Friday afternoon.
Do you know who I am? Wanker.
Man, love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
You recall the Capitol insurrection? A post-ABC News poll showed 54% said Trump should be criminally charged for inciting the riot. That's like a litany of criminal allegations against the former president. You can say it's all partisanship and a witch hunt, but there wasn't one credible accusation against Obama during his entire 8-year term. So how Republicans just ignore all the evidence? I mean, he was perpetrating a coup on multiple levels.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Missed your favorite show live on air? It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And we're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Lows around 21. Tonight, under overcast skies with snow showers likely at times. Winds out of the southwest, 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for snow showers tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 25. Cloudy skies. Lows level off around 15. Tomorrow night, cloudy skies expected. About an inch of snow tonight through tomorrow. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 24 degrees.
Trump, 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 Trump. Pants, pants. Trump, 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 Trump. Pants, pants.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Do it quick. Our pal Scot Ross going to join us at the bottom of the hour.
Scott Fitzgerald, he was the conductor of the Trump train right here in the great state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, although Scott Walker, it was his advocacy killing the train, the high-speed rail. Scott Fitzgerald was a tool of his agenda, certainly a tool of Act 10. But now a little over a decade later, we get another shot, Dom. And the Wisconsin State Journal, they've got a little op-ed. I'd like to share it with you and the audience. Madison is getting another shot at a passenger rail station connecting Chicago and Milwaukee with Minneapolis. Let's not blow it. The city needs to quickly identify a preferred site to present to federal officials without lots of squabbling or delay. This is too important for our regional and state economy to get bogged down in parochial concerns. More than a decade ago, Republican gubernator Scott Walker, killed a high-speed train to Madison. His short-sightedness and political expedient decision cost Wisconsin more than $800 million in federal investment, better connections for business and travel across the state. What the hell did that guy know about business?
Zero, man. I mean, Doyle, this was a plan under Doyle, and he beat Doyle. He's new governor, and he's making his mark.
By being Anyways, let me read on because I want to get this in. Walker is gone, thank God. And the need for a modern transportation system has only increased. So now is the time for action. With Democratic Governor Tony Evers in charge of the State House for another 4 years, he's eager for more progress. President Joe Biden and Congress included $66 billion for inner-city passenger rail in their bipartisan transportation package last year. Madison is wisely positioning itself as a beneficial and convenient stop for all of the Midwest. Hell yes, we are. But where would such a Amtrak station go? City officials have floated 6 possible locations and are seeking public input. Here's all you need to know. The airport's on the north side. Make it a regional commuter hub. Let's just throw it at the airport. There are other downtown locations. I think that's asinine. Don't drag the city through the middle of town. It'd be a little more convenient. But put it at the airport. Problem solved. That's all you need to know. Except all Republicans oppose this. The gerrymandered legislative, let me read on. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, Republican from Rochester, sounds predictably skeptical of anything that might help Madison, even though our region's strong economy and growth help power this entire state. You know what they don't like? The blue overvote. They don't like the number of Democrats that live here, despite the fact we're driving the economy of this state. But let me read on. Vos crowed last week about big government subsidies for Foxconn, flop in Racine County, which he represents. Yet he's rejecting out of hand any state support for a passenger rail to the state capital. If passenger rail is such a bad idea, then why does Amtrak's Hiawatha line run through and stop in Vos's district? Does he oppose that station too? We doubt it. I'll read on. Reasonable Republicans should get behind passenger rail because it's good for business and the economy. Former GOP Governor Tommy Thompson always understood the value. Yet what's needed the most now is agreement at City Hall. The public should weigh in on the preferred site for a station in the coming weeks. Then we should accept the best spot based on city analysis, public consensus, and logistical needs of Amtrak. Do it. Invest in infrastructure. I mean, Jesus. Why is this such a difficult thought process? They love Wisconsin manufacturers and commerce, but to them, the only part of supporting business they get is a tax cut for rich people. That's been proposed.
The state portion of the infrastructure, at least the portion that the state's on the hook for, done by the locals for the Foxconn, is pushing $1 billion, right? And he's totally fine with that. I mean, how does any of this make sense? And if we're looking for leadership and credibility from people like Scott Walker, who immediately tweeted out once this came up, he was against it. Now these Republicans, well, what's their track record? As Crudy mentioned, killing the casino, no legal weed, right? Killing the train, not only just killing the train, but paying to kill the train for $50 million, and then taking this great governmental leadership and business acumen and putting all your eggs in the Foxconn basket? Are you freaking kidding me? Can you point to me one win something that you Republicans were right about. That would be a shorter list.
Thank you. That's the sort of anger I'm looking at. I mean, really, if you supported Foxconn, I'm looking at you, Robin Voss, and certainly you, Scott Walker. Shut the F up. Really, you've got nothing to say. Evermore on economic development, you don't know how it's done. Your idea of economic development is give a rich guy a tax break and wait for your donation to kick back. That's called corruption. That's not governance. Governance is investment for the commons, for all of us.
For the general welfare of the citizens. I think there's written on a historical document somewhere that mentions that.
Well, here in the state of Wisconsin, it says right in the Capitol building, the will of the people be done. Something to that effect. I paraphrase. But I can tell you what, as a guy who actually does business in the state of Wisconsin, in all four corners of the state, in Minneapolis out markets, in the Milwaukee area, in the Madison area, in all the connecting spots in between, I'd sure as hell ride that train. I would, with frequency, and I would do business the entire time instead of blowing more carbon into the atmosphere and trying to get something done as I'm jamming a cell phone down the highway and trying not to drive someone else off the road. I'm sorry. That's how I drive. You've seen it, Dom. You know
Yes, it's not great.
If
when
I'm distracted,
when we travel, I drive.
Well, if I'm distracted, if I'm driving down the road, right? Well, why can't I take a business-friendly commuter rail trip from here to Milwaukee to Chicago? Hell, maybe I just want to go to the Brewer game.
Right.
Maybe I don't want a DWI on the way home. I know it's sort of the state bird here in the state of Wisconsin, but anyways, Scot Ross, our good friend, aggressive tweeter. When we come back, more Devils.
Are you with me?
You're kidding, right?
I find your lack of Devil Radio 92.7 disturbing. Do not fail me again.
ABC News, I'm Ika Giacchi. A week after her release from a Russian prison, WNBA star Brittany Griner is vowing to be back on the basketball court this year with her team. Griner left the Army Medical Facility today and issued a statement online. ABC's Alex Perche has more.
I mean, she said matter-of-factly in this post that President Biden, you brought me home. She also went on to say that I know you are committed to bringing home Paul Whelan, who is also still in Russia, and also all other Americans there. And she also committed her own efforts to helping advocate for the release of any Americans that are still stuck abroad.
Congress passed a stopgap measure to extend the deadline to avert a government shutdown. Today, President Biden will sign the temporary measure. It gives lawmakers time to finalize the spending package. The rush is on for the holiday getaway. AAA estimates 102 million will drive and more than 7 million will fly during the holiday travel period. This is ABC News.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Black Earth to Columbus. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
For Civic Media, I'm Terry Bell with this news. Crews are working hard to get power restored to the rest of Wisconsin homes and businesses still cut off after this week's massive snowstorm. Wisconsin Public Service says it expects to have at least 95% of its customers back online by the end of the day. Tens of thousands lost electricity at the height of the crisis. Many communities are under a snow emergency as plows work to get rid of the last of the snow on the streets. Representative Janelle Branches kicked off the Wisconsin Assembly's Elections Committee. The Menominee Falls Republican maintains Donald Trump won the 2020 presidential election, although there's no proof. Branchton was dismissed from Republican closed caucus meetings last month. In basketball last night, Memphis cruised past the Bucks 142-101. Wisconsin beat Lehigh 78-56. You're listening to Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell.
You wanted information.
I got
about a minute and a half. I don't see him.
You don't see him? I just okay, I text him again. He's not on the Zoom.
repair. With our computer care plans, our friendly and knowledgeable techs can fix most of your computer issues and help you with computer problems remotely without needing an on-site visit. Call Madison Computer Works today at 608.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for joining us. We're back in about 45 seconds.
Sounds good.
Hearth natural breads. Whole grains and other natural ingredients are carefully blended and baked into delicious, nutritious breads like Dakota-style 12-grain, multi-grain, and 100% whole wheat. There's a Country Hearth favorite for everyone in the family. Country Hearth breads, baking our best for you.
You've got questions about navigating the healthcare system? Kristen Lyerly helps us find answers and discusses other issues at the intersection of healthcare and politics. Hometown Health, Thursday mornings at 7:30 on Up North News Radio.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. It's getting better right now. We got a fine guest who's joined us live via Zoom. He's our aggressive tweeting buddy, Scot Ross. Scott, you know, we've used that as a recent moniker for you. I don't know that you have a official title other than Devil, but aggressive tweeter since Elon Musk, dude. I have not tweeted since Elon Musk bought the platform. What's your take on that?
Well, he's just a clown from Clown Town, and it just goes to show that you can't buy smarts, no matter if you're once were the richest man in the world or are wherever the hell he is right now. But yeah, he's just a clown. But, you know, again, who would have thought that, like, you know, racism and anti-Semitism would have exploded on a platform owned by a guy who owes his fortune to his daddy, a South African apartheid diamond mine owner, you know, inheriting him his money and going on to Tesla, which he did not found, contrary to what some people may think. So yeah, it is an S show, as they say over there. Now he's banning journalists. And again, I'll say this, like, I've never been one of those people, you know, the Republicans do it all the time, but they claim when, like, private companies, you know, make decisions about communications, or people are held accountable by private corporations for their communications, they call it an attack on the First Amendment, which is garbage. We know that only the government can impede only government can inflict punishment upon the First Amendment, not private companies, as distasteful as their activities might be so far. So I would think that there would have to be something, though. You know, I was reading about it, you know, some sort of Federal Trade Commission violation with what he is doing to this, you know, multinational communication vehicle. But that's for people who are lawyers to figure out, and I am not one of those.
I hear the EU may do something, but anyways, care a lot less about Twitter than our relationship with you, Scot Ross. It's been too long, man. Happy holidays. You know what I'm really looking forward to this great Christmas week ahead? Well, on Monday, there's going to be a January 6th committee hearing, sort of a bonus overtime special for us, Scott. And I understand they're going to drop the January 6th report on Monday up to the episode. And I'm really, really curious about the very last guy, supposedly, that gave testimony, Robin Voss. I'd like to see the transcripts. Might have to wait till Wednesday, but that'd be a hell of a Christmas surprise for me and the whole great state of Wisconsin. Scott, what do you think he said about Trump and the pressure campaign to decertify the 2020 election?
I mean, if he's honest, you know, he'd say exactly what happened in the way in which this, you know, multi-state effort to overturn the results of a democratically decided election, which included, you know, among other people, the wife of a Supreme Court Justice, Ginny Thomas. And so I will be interested absolutely to see what's in there. You know, Voss clung to Trump as much as he possibly could. I mean, there was that famous little picture of the two of them sidling up in some plane when Voss scurried, and that is the appropriate word, scurried to Mar-a-Lago to speak with Trump after they were having some having some conflicts. So I am definitely excited to see what's in there. And I for sure, I am guessing that any of the potential prosecutions, the scope of it won't be as long as the three of us might be as wide as the three of us might like. But I think it's important. I mean, it's absolutely important for the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland to hold these people accountable for what they did, which is, again, commit basically treason and try and overturn the results of a democratically decided election through skullduggery and in some instances violence. Because if you don't, you never reinforce an undesired behavior, but if you don't stop them, if people are not prosecuted, people who matter are not prosecuted for committing these crimes, they'll do it again. We saw it I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but when the Obama administration didn't punish anybody in the Bush administration for either the economic collapse, for the war crimes, for the lying us into the Iraq war, any of those things, for the corruption, it just opened the door to the next time there was a Republican in there, that being Trump, opening the door to even more massive crimes. So I think that's the real challenge, that if you don't create that disincentive for committing crimes, criminals will commit crimes, and if we can do it for the mom, the single mom struggling on welfare assistance in Milwaukee, who may get more childcare credit than she should have. And there's a 4-day series on it in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and on the local Milwaukee TV. I think you can hold elected officials and folks like that accountable for committing criminal acts against this great nation.
Scot Ross, our good friend. Scott, I certainly think there probably were some criminal co-conspirators from the state of Wisconsin. I just look at the list of the false Trump electors. But I'd like to draw a small distinction. Technically, Robin Vos could be the victim of a crime here. He could be the victim of the pressure campaign from Donald Trump. And let's not forget, Trump came to Wisconsin. Trump endorsed Adam Steen, nearly got the guy beat in the primary. And subsequently, Vos has come out and purged Janelle Brandtjen from the Assembly Elections Committee. Is it possible that victim Robin Vos got his vengeance in sworn testimony? I think it's far more likely that he told the truth or something close to it.
We'll see. Again, we'll see. My experience with Robin Vos in terms of testimony and that sort of thing is he had to testify in our Twitter lawsuit against that we ran against him when speaking of Twitter before, when we successfully argued in federal court that he had violated the government open records laws of the state of Wisconsin by blocking One Wisconsin Now actually the First Amendment was a federal judge, that he had violated our constitutional rights by blocking us on Twitter because it was a government account. I'm guessing that Vos probably probably was inclined to tell the truth, being under oath, and that he had a little bit of an axe to grind. But I don't see Vos as the victim in any of this. He rode this train, throughout the last 15 years. And so if that station ends up in a place that he doesn't like, he's only got himself to blame for that. And yes, that was a segue, Mike.
Well done, Scot Ross, our friend. But of course. Voss is trying to get it always, all the time. That's how he rolls, and he's been pretty good at it. Let's not forget he appointed Gableman, right? What kind of a fiasco was that? So he tried to appease Trump, which you can never do. He tried to, hang on to those voters, which you can never do, because they're going to do what Trump wants. And then he's fighting within his own party here. And, I live in the Wisconsin Senate 8th District, and Janelle Brandtjen apparently is going to run as one of those Republicans, along with some other folks that signed the letter. Dan Knodl is one of the 15 that signed the letter to Mike Pence the day before the riotous insurrection, asking him not to certify the election. So we have lots of those people in the Republican Party. And of course, on the national level, Scott, McCarthy's, fighting for Speaker of the House, and he's kind of beholden to Marjorie Taylor Greene. How does this person come up to have the influence that she has in Crazy Town? Scott, it seems to me the Republican Party is a disarray.
Yes. There is a lot of chaos over on the other side of the fence. That's for sure. I guess the real challenge is here that we have come to a place where we have two separate realities which exist. we have the reality where science and mathematics rule, the one that we all and most of the people in the United States live in. And then you have the Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, Dan O'Donnell, right-wing, Looney Tunes place where like they simply, the reality doesn't exist. And they are a chamber which operates basically in a vacuum. And that's why I think we see, you see the evidence that that's not working are when you see things like, we're waiting for right? We're all waiting for the latest caravans to be coming up from Central America right before the election, which seems to, coincide with every time there's an election. Fox News starts yammering about that. The challenge is that the mainstream media then feels like they have to address that. So they're winning. So the right is winning by virtue of getting the regular mainstream media to pick up on things that simply have no basis in fact. So it shouldn't even be argued. Like getting to have that argument exist is the Republicans winning, by virtue of that. So I mean, that's the problem, is that there is this alternative reality which exists where people, share ideas and beliefs about things that really don't operate in the known universe. But they continue. I mean, television. I mean, we're all radio fans, but television is, as Howard Beale said, is the most awesome GD force in the whole godless world, because you can just sit there and have it like come into you. You are seeing it, you are hearing it. It's stimulating all those, motor neurons in your brains. The problem is that, as long as that stuff exists to pollute people's brains, their brains are going to be polluted because it's such a passive, activity.
And now you can get it on demand on your phone, man. So, there's really no limit to it, and you can wormhole down anything. If you want it, you can search for it, you'll find it. All right, but in that sense, though, we have some new leadership here in the state of Wisconsin. Brian Shimmy now the GOP chair. And I saw on Washington Post, Mark Thiessen wrote an op-ed about Gallagher up in the Green Bay area as an up-and-coming Republican. We have new leadership in Wisconsin and a sharp young lad up in Green Bay. Is that bode well for us, Scott?
I don't think at all, because every time that the opportunities existed for, Mike Gallagher to stand up to his party and this craziness, when things actually matter, around election time, around the time when important legislation is passing, he cowers and can't be found. This guy, that's a thing. Like him and Brian Stile are so embodiment of Paul Ryan, which is this, wealthy white guys who get a free pass because Milwaukee media likes them because they're, young, handsome Republicans. I mean, that's just the way it is. They, precious Paul Ryan was like the sacred cow of Wisconsin politics. He could not be, you could not talk poorly about him by virtue of, I don't know why, I don't understand what he had, because of the three post offices he got named while he was, during his 20 years in the House. But I think that's a challenge. I mean, the thing is that Democrats have to be going after these guys, because if you're not creating that contrast in the media is just going to report one side. Like Democrats need to get off their butts and they need to start going after the House members, with radio, with communications, with rapid response, with press releases, with elected officials going after them on the Democratic side. In the 1st Congressional District against Brian Stile, in the 3rd Congressional District against Looney Tune terrorist insurrectionist Derek Van Orton, in the 7th against Tom Tiffany, and then certainly in the 8th against Mike Gallagher, because that guy's all but declared. I mean, that column you read by Mark Thiessen, who, let's not forget, Mark Thiessen was the author of Scott Walker's unreadable tome, Unintimidated. Yeah. That guy's all but declared that he's going to run against Tammy Baldwin in 2024.
Yeah.
And if I just may, one little segue or one little side note here. Back in 2013, when Unintimidated came out, I was supposed to be on MSNBC to talk about it and give my review of it. And so I had purchased it. Okay. And it was sitting in my house. And I left my house to go to the gym. And I came back 40 minutes later, which tells you how long I was with the gym. And I had left my back window open and someone broke into my house and stole my iPad, which was underneath my copy of Unintimidated, but they left the copy of Unintimidated.
Scot Ross, do you recall when the let's call them the sing-along people, where they went and they were the truly unintimidated ones They went to press with a book entitled Unintimidated before Scott Walker got to press. And Tammy Baldwin was in studio one day, and I said, which unintimidated book would you prefer?
My contribution to the literature was I went over to Barnes & Noble at the Easttown Mall, and I put all Walker's copies in the new fiction section when they came out.
There was
and took a photo.
Look, I could tell you chapter and verse. Scott Ross, you got more time for us, man? You stick
Sure. Absolutely.
Writing grievances with Scott Ross, our good buddy, an aggressive tweeter. But in the Unintimidated book, Ghost, written by Mark Thiessen, about Scott Walker's fantasy life, he claims up in La Crosse he was surrounded by protesters and they shook the car and he was fearful for his life. And I called friends in the media in La Crosse and they said that never happened. Yeah. It never happened. Not like sort of, maybe. No, never happened. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. We're for real. I promise.
Just because he says it doesn't make it true.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last.
Veterans, whatever you're going through, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Jenny.
It's up to all of us. It's not just up to Democrats. Are we ready to rid our country of this perversion and deception? Are we sick of massacres at churches, grocery stores, theaters, concerts? Are we sick of adults forcing children who are raped into pregnancy? When is enough that we're going to vote out those fascists?
I'm putting you down for Caller Hall of Fame today. We have to carry these messages, even if the Democratic Party is incapable. You keep it up, sister.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
You are listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app too? And if you miss a show or game, find it wherever you get your podcasts or on our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Cloudy skies expected tonight with snow showers likely at times. Lows dip down to about 21. Southwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for snow showers again tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 25. Overcast skies tomorrow night, 15. About an inch of snow tonight through tomorrow with another dusting Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 24 degrees.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. If you missed any of this fine program, go to civicmedia.us. Click on the Devil's Advocates tab for podcasts and interviews.
Our good friend Scott Ross aggressively tweeting and talking here on the Devil's Advocates on a Friday afternoon. Scott, I've got to turn it to the backyard politics just for a few minutes. There is a special election happening for Dom's representation in the Wisconsin State Senate. And apparently Alberta Darling, she's out. She resigned. And at least the Dems finally got someone to run. But it is a cavalcade of Republicans. Scott, what's your opinion of the field of Republicans seeking Alberta Darling's seat?
Well, I mean, when one of the more formative elected officials in the race is a guy who was run out of office for having sex with a Republican staffer, you can see the quality. Thank you very much. The quality.
Married that girl.
I mean, I remember because I was still working at OWN when Randy Bedhopper was the talk of the town in the recalls and such, and he got run out by Jess King One of the two successful recalls, two of the three successful recall elections that Democrats had during the Walker uprising. So yeah, I mean, the thing is that these races, by and large, it's either going to be Kenoda or it's going to be Branchin, because these races almost, I would say 99.9% of the races, when it's a primary for a Senate seat, a person who, and a member of the legislature is running, an assembly person, they win the primary. It's because of name ID or whatever it is. It's why here in Dane County, whenever there's a new assembly race, it's usually a county board supervisor who wins. If a county board supervisor gets into the primary, because they just, they have the name ID. Not that it's huge, but so that's, and there's Kenoda, who's a clown car, and then you've got Branchin, who's just like, she would be the best for the Democrats, because terrorist insurrectionist is like still not thought of as a good thing. The things that she did. The fact is that Voss wants her out of the caucus, so which, much like Adam Jarkow. So maybe she'll get across the line and then lose like Jarkow did against spacing on her name, Patty Shockner. So we'll see.
Scot Ross, based on that logic, how about the Wisconsin Supreme Court race? We've obviously got the Scott Walker former appointee Dan Kelly, who got his ass handed to him by Jill Karofsky, 163,000 votes, I believe. And then suddenly the glamorous celebrity judge from the Waukesha parade trial, Doro, got in the race. Well, she's got some name recognition. She's got some celebrity. That's all it's really going to take, I think. Although apparently she's on the wrong side of the bail issue, Scott. The same thing they eviscerated Mandela for, are they going to go after her for? And would you say the Republican Party will then be in disarray?
Well, this is the thing. The dynamics of this race are different from any Supreme Court race we have ever had in the state of Wisconsin. And that's because, at least going back to when there were actual, maybe 30 years ago, there were races that were competitive, but they weren't paid attention to and they didn't spend a lot of money, right? So for the past 25 years, going back to 1997 at least, the Supreme Court races have been, the primaries are a Dem and a Republican, or two Dems and a Republican. And WMC comes in a week and a half before the election, spends $500,000 to $1 million in positive ads for the Republicans. So the Republicans' name ID goes up. They get between 46 and 48%. And then the media for the next 6 weeks till the general election is Judge R, who got 48% in the primary, and Judge D, who got 33% in the primary. You know what I mean? So this is a dynamic which has never existed, where there are two Republicans in it. And you've got big spenders. You've got the Hendricks. The Hendrickses are already on the side of racist Dan Kelly. We'll see. The Hendricks on the U lines. You see if the Hendricks. You see if Hendricks, who Hendricks gets behind. It's going to be a fascinating race, and it's for all the marbles. If the Dems win this, it could change, so much of the lawlessness of the Republicans in the legislature and Governor Walker and Scott Walker were codified by a Republican-controlled Supreme Court, and so much of that could get tossed if the progressives are successful. And it is for all the marbles. It's all hands on deck. There should be nothing else that people are focusing on the Democratic side. Albeit, I know they got to write a budget, but put two people in a room and write a budget. Have everybody else in the Democratic thing should be working on this until the April general election.
Yeah, absolutely, great point. Scot Ross, our fine guest for just a couple more minutes. The respect for before we get to that, I also want to mention Scott Walker's kid is the campaign manager for Kelly's campaign, to my understanding. Well,
then you got two people coming together who have had a lot of experience in writing concession speeches. It's going to hum on election night.
Scott, a good week. The Respect for Marriage Act finally passed, but not thanks to Senator Ron Johnson here in the state of Wisconsin. I know you've been critical of some of the other Republicans on this. I want to give you the last couple of minutes here to opine on your thoughts regarding, Derek Van Orden, Ron Johnson, Wisconsin Law and Liberty, of course, the former Governor Scott Walker.
Yeah, listen, it's very clear. If you look at what's happened with LGBTQIA rights in the last 15 years, it got to the point where where people accepted gay marriage, right? It was the Supreme Court made gay marriage legal, same-sex marriage legal. But what has happened when it comes to trans people and the attack from alleged parents' rights groups, those bottom-feeding scumbags, the Moms for Liberty, and whatever the hell Scarlett Johnson, her group, I can't remember. Some of the, if you've been following any of this stuff, and again, in and around the 8th Senate District.
Yes.
That's interesting because like they've been rejected for the most part at the election box when, with things they have tried to do. But like those bottom feeders go to those meetings. They, I don't know if you saw, there was one where like the Germantown Library had a Pride Month display, and a trans teenager, put a display up 2 years ago, no problem, put it up last year. Those, those people went crazy. And so as a result, the library decided it was going to get rid of having displays so that it didn't have to deal with the controversy of saying that gay people and trans people should be treated like human beings. So they're not going to stop. The Journal Sentinel, is doing a disservice to the people of Wisconsin in the way that they have covered these groups and these individuals, Scarlett Johnson and the Moms for Liberty, with these gauzy profiles after they lost. And so I would ask them to stop doing that. We have to stop platforming, people who want to take away other people's rights in such a despicable way. That's just my own beef with it. So the challenge is that like these people have a microphone. They have a really large microphone. We have to beat them with shoe leather and with our tenacity.
Well, that or Derek Van Orden's going to have to come to your library and check out all the books. Scot Ross, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll catch up with you soon. Thank you so much for coming around. We got Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, joining us for the Happier Happy Hour.
Thanks, Scott.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage, and I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and shows stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you. Your local Civic Media radio stations and streaming on the Civic Media app.
10 years ago, we opened with a single location. We had one glass blower, that's me, and a full display of artistically created glass pipes and products. Today, you've helped us grow to 3 successful locations. Ignite Glass and Gifts thanks you for your continued support. We'll be here as long as you need us. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. 1 solid decade. Man, does that feel good.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. With COVID cases rising, health experts urge Americans to get vaccinated. New data suggesting the recent COVID booster offers added protection against the virus.
The new bivalent COVID-19 vaccine booster was 57% more effective at preventing hospitalizations compared to unvaccinated adults. That was a finding of about 15,000 adults conducted by the CDC. It was 45% more effective when compared to those fully vaccinated who'd got at least 11 months since their last dose. Brian Clark, ABC News.
President Biden signing a temporary measure to avert a government shutdown. That bill extending today's deadline, giving lawmakers time to finalize their massive spending bill. A week after her release from a Russian prison, WNBA star Brittany Griner says she will return to play basketball with her WNBA Phoenix Mercury team this year. She also thanked her family and President Biden for bringing her home. This is ABC News. The first box office numbers are in for Avatar: The Way of Water.
Outstanding. A solid start for Avatar: The Way of Water at the box office. The sequel to James Cameron's 2009 sci-fi epic took in $17 million in previews Thursday. Estimates have it tracking up to $175 million this weekend.
This is our home!
That's still a long way to go before even touching the original Avatar numbers, which is still globally the most successful movie of all time. $2.9 billion to be exact.
Let's get it done.
20th Century Studios and ABC News are both owned by parent company Disney. Matt Wolf, ABC News.
A new study questions the health benefits of eating dark chocolate. Consumer Reports saying some brands, including Hershey's and Trader Joe's, contain high levels of lead and cadmium. Those heavy metals can cause health problems, but an industry group saying those products tested meet all safety requirements. Andy Field, ABC News.
Dell Technologies.
You've merely made radio your ally. I was born on the radio. Devil Radio 92.7.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
For Civic Media, I'm Terry Bell with this news. Warming shelters are open in communities in Wisconsin for people whose homes are still without electricity after the massive snowstorm overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Power lines were no match for several inches of wet, heavy snow. Hazelhurst got almost 9 inches of snow. That's up by Minocqua. The Wisconsin Public Service Utility says it expects to have at least 95% of its customers back online by the end of today. The new Miss America is from Wisconsin. Grace Stanke is from Wausau. She studies nuclear engineering at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. She'll use her platform to promote zero-carbon energy sources like nuclear power and work to improve communication about nuclear science with the public. In basketball last night, Memphis cruised past the Bucks 142-101. Wisconsin beat Lehigh 78-56. You're listening to Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell.
The committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol is holding what may be its final hearing Monday, December 19th, starting at noon. Listen for special live coverage on your local Civic Media radio station. Then join the conversation as your favorite hosts talk about the hearing, the final report, and what it all means to you. It's insight you won't find anywhere else. Tune in on Monday, December 19th at noon to your local Civic Media radio station, also streaming on the Civic Media app.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
True, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why you're listening to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of Hawk's Bar and Grill. Come to Hawk's on State and tell them you're there because the devil sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Devil Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of Hawks and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should...
Oh. Yeah, I got nothing. We got Maggie.
It is your destiny.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, TGIF Happy Hour. And Dom, it gets better. Right now, happier. We welcome back the returning champ. She's Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Maggie Daun. And Maggie, I would not normally comment on your wardrobe, but you are sporting a lovely "Not Today, Satan" t-shirt. He's clearly talking to you, Dom.
Hey, Maggie Daun.
Hey, guys. Yeah, this is one of my faves. I got this from a good friend, and then over the years, she just continues to give me all sorts of varieties on the "Not Today, Satan," including like "Maybe Today, Satan." I've got a whole series of that wardrobe, too.
That's awesome.
At least, Maggie, you're not sporting something from the Donald Trump NFT trading card collection.
Well, not yet. Apparently, they make great gifts, Maggie.
What? I mean, I'm sorry. It's as if he Silence of the Lambs style, like someone removed his skull and we're like looking into his head and observing his raw id, right? Like I'm a superhero and he's like all buff. I mean, it's almost worth buying if they weren't so ridiculously expensive. So I think I'll just stick with the Trump toilet paper.
Well, it's all of that with freaking laser beams coming out of his eyes.
It really, like, if we had to do like top 5 of my favorite things this week, that is number 1, probably. Number 2, followed shortly thereby, the OK buttons that are now being sported by some of the House Republicans, which is supposed to mean only Kevin in response to the Never McCarthy folks. But everybody's like, yeah, did no one think that it's just sort of affirming the wah, wah, that is Kevin McCarthy?
Maggie Daun, I know it's really next week's news, but I'm looking forward to the most. Monday, January 6 hearings. Going live on the Civic Media Network, high noon. And also the report being released, 8 chapters and a synopsis. They're going to drop the evidence, my understanding, on Wednesday. But Maggie Daun, criminal referrals reportedly by Politico. 3 criminal referrals to the DOJ. And I know it's only about as good as the paper it's written on, but it is a bipartisan thing, and it's the first time, my understanding, other than a few statements by federal judges, speculation sort, but the first time the former president has been criminally accused, outside of the greatest radio show ever.
Yeah, it's about time, right? I, for one, will be on vacation all of next week, so we'll be devouring this in detail and absolutely listening to Civic Media's live coverage starting at noon, 100%. Really curious to see exactly how they present the information. I think we know and have a very good idea of who those criminal referrals will be about. But as with all things in the January 6th committee and with all things writ large politically, right? It's the manner of presentation that really matters. And so do they build a compelling case, or does this look much more like the Robert Mueller kind of dry, unsexy?
No.
I hope not, right? If we learned anything, it's don't leave it up to Bill Barr to sort of do the spin doctoring. Like, make it really clear, make it understandable to all, and I hope they do that.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Our pal Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel and friend of the Devil's, joining us on this Friday. Thank you for doing so, Maggie. I want to get on that, but I want to harken back just a moment to the Trump cards, if we can, for a second. Forbes is reporting that the digital trading cards, they have sold out, netting $4.4 million. So, I mean, if this is a business proposition, you got to think, given the very limited cost of making these things, he's going to make some money. But here's the other part about this, Maggie and Crudy. How is this? You know, the Republicans bitch all the time about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden this, Hunter Biden. Oh, Hunter Biden's got art and he's selling his art. And who's buying the art? And who's paying for the art? And how do you value art? Isn't that just a way to potentially, I don't know, launder money, for example? Well, does this seem like it'd be something that would fit the bill? If you're trying to stash some money over to a guy like Trump, wouldn't this be a way to do it, Maggie Daun?
Yeah, but P.T. Barnum is cheering from his grave, right? Like there's a sucker born every minute. And we know that every knuckle dragging, like no gray matter having MAGA hat sporting Republican is out there giving these things away to their entire weird rednecky families for the holidays. I mean, yeah, that would clearly work here too. I mean, both things can be true, right? I always believe in the theory of not or, but and. So like, yes, there is $4.4 million worth of MAGA suckers out there, and all of his, co-conspirator criminal types that want to just launder money to get him some funding so he can pay for the criminal referral and all the manner of other legal catastrophes that await DJT. Yep, that too as well. And by the way, we could do in a complete hour on how the uber rich, and I'm talking like the 0.1 of the 1% globally, buy priceless works of art and then actually put them in tax no man's lands, which are basically these like aircraft freight things in international airports, because effectively it's not in a taxable jurisdiction. But again, I've gone way down the rabbit hole here on some legal minutia and financial frauds, but returning to the point, yes, indeed, I think it's probably both.
I think of Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. It's the gift that keeps all giving. I think a perfect gift might be not today, CJ. He's waiting in the wings, but we're not taking him.
Got a whole new merchandising angle, Mike. Perfect.
You are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We're not even selling you anything. We're giving it away for free. Best price ever. We got the best guest ever. She's our good friend, Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. And Maggie, I'm just glad you're here. So let me just say that. I don't even have any questions, just observations. I'm happy.
Well, let me jump in then, Rudy. The travails of DJT, as you brought up, Maggie. Lots of headwind for him. Lots of grand juries. Apparently, even a new one I read about here recently this week. Perhaps a bit has been impaneled. But of the various criminal and civil cases that are going on against the president right now, what's your sense of the most direct, and not necessarily the quickest, but perhaps the quickest route to justice, given the different cases?
I think the documents case, it's like so clear, like, don't take this stuff. It belongs to the United States government. He took the stuff. They asked for it back for months and months and months. He swore up and down that he'd given all the stuff. He hadn't. I mean, I don't know how much more open and shut of a case you can get. And I think that poses the most real and imminent criminal threat. It doesn't have the greatest potential penalty. That's a different.
Well, Maggie, it's it will be rationalized away as paperwork crimes, and I don't disagree with you. What about my thought? Perhaps a state level charge coming out of the state of Georgia, where he cannot be pardoned by a future Republican president. That's my thought. That would be the best worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's 100% right when you're thinking about pardonability. Of course, Georgia continues to elect Republican governors, right?
They don't have clemency there.
They don't. Oh, no kidding. Folks, make a note. It is 5:15 on Friday, December 16th, and I learned something from Mike Crudy today.
Yes, well, we learned it from Evan yesterday. Yes, apparently Georgia, one of 3 states that actually has like a 5-person board that does not allow the governor to directly pardon, although the governor can appoint to the board, probably in staggered, jobs. Yes, technically Georgia does not have that. So that is, but my question, and to your point, I mean, which one is quick? What's the first conviction, right? And I would imagine that if there's evidence on all of these things, they will all come down in due course. But Crudy makes a great point, to be able to have a state charge on this level. that a future Republican president, like DeSantis doing a deal with Trump to get the mega votes, something like that, that would limit that. And, we've been critical, Crudy a little more so than I, on Alvin Bragg, the DA out of Manhattan, and the criminal charges against the Trump Corporation are now, we've talked about those, but there could be more charges coming out of that. That would also be, Maggie, on a state level if something like that goes down.
Yeah, it's been really interesting watching what's happened in the Manhattan DA's office, right? It was the new DA came in and it was sort of like, we're probably not going to continue with these prosecutions, or even with potentially continuing to seek evidence and build a case and impanel a grand jury. Now that's sort of flip-flopped. You're wondering, like, what exactly is going on? Like, what's the litmus test there? There were a number of former prosecutors in that DA's office that basically spoke out publicly and said, yeah, these are tough cases because they're complex, right? But there was no question in their mind, these assistant district attorneys that spoke out publicly, long-time employees of the Manhattan DA's office, they basically left because they were upset about it. So it's interesting to see effectively this flip-flop, like what's motivating that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would suggest, the overwhelming verdict that you saw in the trial of the Trump organization as to the tax crimes, right, was fascinating, and certainly makes a predicate case, sets an example, in other words, that, boy, yeah, tax fraud's a crime. Again, we get to Mike's point about it being paperwork crimes. But
let me point out some new reporting on the paperwork crime. Apparently, he kept the classified documents in the pool storage area accessible by all the guests at Mar-a-Lago. So, how big a deal could it have been? Come back with us. She's a really big deal. She's Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. Not today, Satan. That's what she has to say. Come back with us. We'll give her the next word.
Every rose has its thorn.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Mitch McConnell did make a public statement, right? After he voted to acquit, nothing says the president can't be prosecuted. Set the example for your caucus.
Convince your caucus as to why the man is not fit to serve. How do you not use your leadership and say, you guys, this is crazy. We can't do this, and here is exactly why. Because now, of the two major political parties, one of them is under the thumb of a fascist insurrectionist.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Cloudy skies expected tonight, with snow showers likely at times. Lows dip down to about 21. Southwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for snow showers again tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 25. Overcast skies tomorrow night, 15. About an inch of snow tonight through tomorrow, with another dusting Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 24 degrees.
Like you wanna,
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We will take some calls later in the show at 844-967-2789. But right now we got our pal Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, joining us this Friday. Maggie, thanks for coming around. Always great to see you. Oh, hang on.
Can't hear Maggie.
Where's Maggie? Go ahead, Maggie.
Oh, the old unmute on the Zoom.
Oh, yes,
Every
the
time.
technology. We got the kids to work on it for you.
Maggie, I got to ask you, do you use the Twitter? And what do you think about the new guy in charge, Elon Musk? He's now banning journalists, but he has replaced Mike Lindell to his esteemed place on the Twitterverse. I suspect the former president will join him there shortly, but Mike Lindell celebrates Twitter reinstatement with a call to melt down the voting machines. Welcome back, Mike.
Yeah, amplify Mike Lindell, right? Like not black or brown voices, but Mike Lindell. That's
Yes,
really
we need more Mike out
from
there.
It's really been, after coming to the county, right, and becoming a manager of a lot of people, I've spent a whole heck of a lot of time thinking about what it is to try to not just manage people, but help people feel some sort of value and attachment, engagement with their work, right? Because in the public sector, it's not like I can give people bonuses. We can't fire people on whim, right? There are civil servants, and they enjoy civil service protection. So thinking about how you motivate people, especially during this period of time when so many governmental servants just get crapped on, right? In the media and sort of reputationally, especially in this state. Thank you, Scotty Walker. And basically you look at Elon Musk and it's as a manager and an owner, a CEO of a company, it's basically like he took a management textbook and said to himself, I know I'll do everything that they say not to do in the biggest way humanly possible. And to boot, he's just a complete relativist, right? Like all of the nonsense that comes out of his mouth about this needs to be a basically free speech platform with minimal guardrails that deal and address with effectively incitements to violence and extraordinary hate speech. That's all baloney. It's complete BS. He has no moral mooring at all. It's basically like he's fangirling himself. You get that sense, like this is just all a big ego exercise.
Yes.
For a whopping $44 billion. I hope the whole thing implodes. And, but let's say Black Twitter, like, let's just keep Black Twitter. The rest of it can go. I'm shocked at how completely incapable of any self-awareness he is, or if he does have some, just doesn't care.
My understanding.
Did you see that he appeared with Dave Chappelle? Did you see this? Dave Chappelle brought him on stage, introduced him as the richest man in the world. And I was like, why would you do this? You're basically like hated by anybody that has a couple of gray cells to rub together. It's incredible. Just the huge, the level of audacity of Mr. Musk. Really incredible.
Well, that's the part I admired about him.
Didn't Musk, and I have to look it up, but when he was on stage with Chappelle, did he do the I'm Rich bitch, which was, of course, a Chappelle play on what, Rick James or somebody? I'm not one of the characters that Chappelle would play. But literally, I mean, Elon Musk gets up there. I mean, talk about a total lack of self-awareness. And he kind of, to me, replaced Trump as this weird, egomaniacal, never satiated, inconsistent, just blabbermouth.
It's like they're competing for the world's biggest
big award.
Put it here, right? I mean, like neck and neck coming here. They come around the bend. Like, who knows what's next? Ooh, maybe there'll be Elon Musk trading cards. Maybe those are next. If you're listening, Elon, please do some trading cards.
Who needs trading cards? He bought Twitter. I mean, what are Pokemon cards relative to Twitter?
Well, I mean, if he's losing the money the way he's losing at Tesla right now, he just sold like $3 billion of stock. I mean, talk about selling at the bottom. You know, I mean, I to study a little bit of economics, Maggie Daun, but that's not a way to do it, right?
Yeah, I think that's like thing one in like Biz 101 class is like buy high, sell low, the way to riches and fame. Like here's one. So yeah, if you take it from it, he does everything that is the complete opposite of what any good people manager should ever do, right? He does it in an economically completely backward way. He's complete moral relativist. He doesn't hold himself to the same standards that he appears to try to hold other people to. And he's a giant goober. Like this pasty blah, like ugh, like everything about the guy makes me want to vomit. From what he says to the way he looks, the way he behaves, it's all gross. And like, can you imagine being in the same room with this guy? Like this skeevy vibe that just radiates this man. Ugh.
You know, I was just hopeful he's been investing in the FTX exchange.
Right? Like Sam Bankman-Fried, if you could deliver us one thing for the holidays, please let it be that Elon Musk socked billions into your stupid cryptocurrency.
Well, you know, I always thought perhaps I was just being naive or boomer-like in that I didn't understand the value of crypto. I didn't see any inherent worth in fake money. And what do you know? It was a Ponzi scheme. And I feel like I've been vindicated, at least within my household, to my teenager, if nowhere else. But, you know, for a while, it seemed like up is the only way it could go until it goes down.
Anyone who's been on the planet for more than 5 minutes, no offense to your teenager or all the other 20-somethings that were telling me that I was a grandma because I thought it was bogus. It's like nothing ever just infinitely increases in value. It's the most perfect fertile ground for a Ponzi scheme, right? Because you're not tying it back to anything. It's monopoly money in cyberspace, basically. You know, we could have a very philosophical conversation about what money.
Not right now, we can't.
We can't.
You gotta say goodbye, sister. You're the only thing. Your friendship grows infinitely in value. It's priceless. But we got to go.
Love you
Merry
guys.
Christmas.
Happy holidays, everybody.
We'll talk to you soon. Be well.
Thank you, Maggie Daun.
The happier happy hour continues.
My Satan sense is tingling.
Well, that's definitely a pleasurable sensation.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. And that's pretty cool.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. With COVID cases rising, health experts urge Americans to get vaccinated. New data suggesting the recent COVID booster offers added protection against the virus.
The new bivalent COVID-19 vaccine booster was 57% more effective at preventing hospitalizations compared to unvaccinated adults. That was a finding of about 15,000 adults conducted by the CDC. It was 45% more effective when compared to those fully vaccinated who'd gone at least 11 months since their last dose. Brian Clark, ABC News.
President Biden signing a temporary measure to avert a government shutdown. That bill extending today's deadline, giving lawmakers time to finalize their massive spending bill. A week after her release from a Russian prison, WNBA star Brittany Griner says she will return to play basketball with her WNBA Phoenix Mercury team this year. She also thanked her family and President Biden for bringing her home. This is ABC News.
I'm so glad you're listening to Devil Radio. It makes me so happy. Boo.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News Radio. The newest member of the legislature's Joint Finance Committee is Democratic State Senator Kelda Roys. She told us there's no need to coddle Republicans when they want to lecture about how to use the large state budget surplus, because Democrats in Congress, President Biden, and Governor Evers have already proven which party is better on the economy for most families and working Americans.
We thought we could have been dealing with mass unemployment, with a huge depression, with the closure of small businesses everywhere. And while we did see obviously some economic strife, by and large, we have come out of that pandemic much, much stronger. And that's thanks to the work of Democratic elected officials.
Where's Crudy? Check, check, check. What's happening? 1, 2, 1, 2. No, I don't hear you. No. Nope, nope, nope. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, 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 check. Um Yep.
Way. I don't think it's all coincidence that the two crimes Sarah's reporting are under consideration are the same two crimes the DOJ has already gone in front of a judge and said, we believe that there's at least probable cause, not necessarily enough to bring an indictment, but enough that we can get certain investigative materials. And the judge agreed. Again, this former prosecutor Honig's statement. So I think the committee is trying to sing off the same play sheet as the DOJ. Dom, you with me?
I'm back, baby.
Well, you know the point I've been making. Well, I think I've been making. You never know if I make a point. Huh?
Just be consistent. What's the point?
This, far more important, this bipartisan J6 referral, although it's not legally binding, as pointed out by this former prosecutor and our friend James Santel, is still far more relevant and has far more weight in the annals of history, if nothing else.
Certainly, yes.
Than a partisan piece of legislation that you were all wrong for bringing up yesterday.
I brought it up because it happened, and it's also historic. I don't know that that's ever happened in this history of this country before as well. Now, whether or not it actually gets through Congress is an entirely different story. But if the J6 is going to ride on the coattails of the Department of Justice, then why shouldn't the legislature do the same thing?
Right on the coattails. You mischaracterize, Salvia. There is no riding on the coattails. They've done their own thorough, comprehensive investigation. They're issuing their own report, and only for the sake of Donald Trump not being able to claim, oh, I'm exonerated. Because that's what he would do for the lack of criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. But of course, as mentioned by Jim Santel, by Honig on the CNN show with Jake Tapper,
yeah.
They're not legally binding.
Of course. No, I get it. And it's still important. It's still important. Yes, it's bipartisan. Absolutely. It's still important for historic purposes. Yes. And hopefully they will do another. I think they've been doing a great job on the messaging and the presentation. It's amazing when you actually have a bipartisan committee that are there to provide information to the American people about something that is so egregious. It's almost hard to comprehend. And I get why people, conservatives, perhaps some visceral reaction going, what? Oh, come on. No, I heard Ron Johnson say it was just a bunch of tourists. Well, obviously it wasn't. I mean, look at the combat footage, man. I play video games that are less stressful than what we see in those videos. So, but I would say this, it seems based on some of the reporting that perhaps some information from has been dug up by the J6 that maybe the DOJ wasn't on or wasn't at least presenting to the public that they were onto. But there have been grand juries impaneled for a long time. I mean, I think what's going to come out, historically speaking, is that once that Capitol was attacked, they were on it, man. I mean, of course you're on it. You can't not be on it. So the fact that Garland didn't present it the way we wanted to, or perhaps wasn't moving with the alacrity that we wanted, or didn't update us to the degree that we want. At the end of the day, there's 4, 5, 6 grand juries impaneled investigating various crimes of Donald Trump.
But Monday, next business day, Monday will be the very first time the criminal referrals against the former president have been made in this bipartisan fashion. Let's hear from Adam Kinzinger. He is one of the Republicans, one of only 2. And of course, Liz Cheney, also gone as a congresswoman. So both the Republicans on this panel are unemployed effectively on January 3rd. But here is the farewell speech. We do Friday grievances. Let's air one for the congressman from Illinois, Adam Kinzinger, the Republican, sort of a big middle finger on his way out the door to the Republican Party. Cut 1.
Following the tragic Oklahoma City bombing, former President George H.W. Bush publicly refuted those who used fear to gain support. In stark contrast, our leaders today belittle and in some cases justify attacks on the U.S. Capitol as, quote, legitimate political discourse.
More from at least he was not reelected. I think he actually stepped away, wasn't on the ballot. Adam Kinzinger, congressman from Illinois, Republican, outgoing, cut 2.
The once great party of Lincoln, Roosevelt, and Reagan has turned its back on the ideals of liberty and self-governance. Instead, it has embraced lies and deceit.
This is what Republicans say about their own party these days. I'd just like to point that out for a few of our conservative listeners. Again, Kinzinger, a fond farewell to the Republican Party, cut 3.
The Republican Party used to believe in a big tent, which welcomed the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Now, we shelter the ignorant, the racist, who only stoke anger and hatred to those who are different than us.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I just want to ruminate on that one for a bit. Let me just swirl around in the glass. Let me stick my nose in it. Let me chew on the cork for a second. Would you, Evan, if you would please, let's play that one just one more time of the Republican talking about the Republicans.
The Republican Party used to believe in a big tent, which welcomed the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Now, we shelter the ignorant, the racist, who only stoke anger and hatred to those who are different than us.
Yes. One more, I believe, from Adam. Thank you for doing the hard work here. Evan, if you would, please.
Our constituents voted us in based on our beliefs, but we cannot use our faith as a sword and a shield while ignoring the fact that we are all children of God, that we are all Americans.
We are all Americans.
On the way out the door, Republicans. I mean, Kinzinger's been okay on this committee, but why are they only courageous on their way?
I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it, man. It'd be nice to have some street fighters out there, rhetorically speaking, not you crazy young Republicans who literally want to start a civil war because why your guy lost. You know, I'm because you don't like the gay people. I'm not exactly clear, but you know, the party that hosts the ignorant and the racist, that's coming from a Republican. But I just also want to say this: it's not all flowers with Adam Kinzinger. He also, in this speech, of some of the pieces that I heard that we do not have cuts of, did the both sidesism of it. And to some degree, I understand what he's saying, but he was essentially saying, listen, he was criticizing the Democrats putting money into the loony right wing primaries in order to get, you know, the
you were
yeah. And it was a successful political strategy, and I was critical of it at the time, but it did work. And he brought that up in his speech, essentially saying, "Oh, but you know, Democrats are also to blame." Now, I get what he's saying. I think politically that was not a smart thing to do. You could have taken that money and actually put it into, I don't know, the district that Van Orden won here in the state of Wisconsin. That'd have been nice. Brad Paff, you know, you could have done other things with that money. There's opportunity costs, and they may have been loony enough to lose on their own. So we'll never know. But that hardly, Mr. Kinzinger, hardly rises to the level of what is going on in your guano bat, whatever crazy party the MAGA thing has morphed into. And just for the record, he also mentioned the party of Lincoln during, and I've seen the Lincoln Project did a mock-up of the 2-minute. I thought it was fake. I literally thought this was a joke, that this was literally not Donald Trump saying these things. And Evan, maybe if you can look at our Twitter feed, we have it, of Donald Trump, you know, hawking the cards. I mean, he made $4.4 million yesterday. I guess it's worth the effort. But he's literally, as he starts, hey, this is your president. I'm your president. Hopefully your favorite president. The president better than Washington, better than Lincoln. I mean, that's how he started out. This is how he started out, literally, to sell these things. And people bought them. So I guess, you know, good for you. But the party of Lincoln is now the party of Trump. And Kinzinger, if you had some moxie, you'd have stayed in there and done it. And not do the both sides of them with the Dems, although they probably should not have funded the crazies.
844-967-2789. You can rant on the radio like Dom. Welcome, Dick from Madison. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dick.
This is so far out of bounds and crazy. Don't you have to agree? I mean, the only thing...
Define the crazy, just so we're on the same
right.
crazy terms.
What's crazy?
I mean, Pokemon superhero Daun. I mean, how do you get crazier than this? I mean, come on, guys.
Wait till next week.
Well, right, but the first thing I thought is, where's Mike Lindell? And if you order now, you can get some superhero sheets as a part of this offer. You know, come on. We got to get on board with all of this. This is so insane that I mean, anybody who is still on board with this and will back this, Really? I mean, seriously, I honestly think that it's pretty bad when Steve Bannon and Michael Flynn have abandoned ship.
And Sebastian Gorka. I mean, when these guys are going, wow, Trump, that's crazy.
Can you just see this on Saturday Night Live? I mean, seriously.
They don't let me stay up late any longer. Mike Lindell celebrates his reinstatement to Twitter by calling to melt down the voting machines. Just the ones suing him for defamation or all of them? More Devils. We'll be back.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Cardall put out these weird, sad videos interviewing incapacitated elders in their nursing homes that don't have the ability to say, don't use me as your political prop.
If they are what you say they are, then you shouldn't be doing it how you did it.
Yes, it was the kids using the parents as props. Well, my old man hasn't talked since 76. Of course he would have voted for Trump. That's the evidence. Videos. People that can't talk.
It is wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You should not send that text.
Uh-oh. Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
You are never far away from your favorite radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. And if you missed your favorite show or game, listen to a podcast of it anytime on the app or our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Cloudy skies tonight with snow showers likely. Lows around 21. Winds out of the southwest 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of snow showers tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 25. Overcast skies. Cloudy skies again tomorrow night. Lows dip down to about 15. About an inch of snow tonight through tomorrow with another dusting Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 24 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates. Making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday, last segment of the day, of the week. If you got something to say, hit us up right now, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I was also going to point out, if you're looking for a good time on a Saturday night, who's not, right? MaxInc Radio going live 6 to midnight, Saturday night, replaying on Sunday. And also doing the New Year's Eve thing, very special event. Just starting to hear the promotions. I'm looking forward to rocking in the new year right here with Civic Media and the MaxInc Radio team. We look forward to having you air your grievances. Still time, 844-967-2789. Wisco Paul, you're next. Welcome to the party, pal.
Happy Friday, Devils.
Hey, happy Friday, Paulie.
Yeah, nice show today. Well, you guys always have a good show.
Fair to middling, at least.
Come on, greatest radio show ever.
Okay, I'll go with that. At least you guys get the you guys get the truth out there. I do have a quick grievance, and it is with the megas, the GOP, or whatever you want to call them. Could they please run some candidates that actually believe in science and believe in elections and aren't down with insurrection? I mean, these people scare the heck out of me. I mean, I'm going to probably, most of the time, I'm going to vote Democrat. But if for some reason my candidate loses, I don't want to be in fear of my life. I mean, Ron Paul now is an anti-vaxxer. Give me a break. Go ahead.
Well, Paul, I was going to say, unfortunately, the Paul Ryan sort of Republicans they've all crawled off to cash checks somewhere on K Street or sit on the Fox News board. They didn't have the courage to actually stand up. That's the problem, Paul. You talk about, the Derek Van Ordens and apparently the Ron Johnsons, they're all down for the insurrection. But it's the complicit silent ones that bug the you-know-what out of me, Paul, because they don't call out it. If you've got an insurrectionist in your own party, Paul, I'm leaving the party. You know what I mean? Like,
or you kick them out, right? Or you come out against it. You don't wait until you're walking out the door to all of a sudden grow a spine, Paul.
I'm walking out on the Democrats if they do what the Republicans have done. I like to go to bed at night and sleep well, knowing that they aren't going to turn us over to the Russians or, I've had 4 vaccines. I like somebody that believes in science. If the other people want to kill themselves and not get the vaccine, that's up to them. Although they do harm people, other than themselves by doing that, and they clog up the hospital. And look what's going on now. What Rand Paul, anti-vaxxer, DeSantis, he's trying to out-Trump Trump. I mean, these people are scary, guys. I mean, I'm sorry,
I'm
scary.
He's such a Paul. Have a wonderful weekend, and rest assured, DeSantis is a wannabe fascist. He's a Scott Walker. He's not a.
I don't know, but come on, man. They're all wannabes until you get a crowd of thousands behind you that actually do it, right? I mean, that's
will never motivate thousands or dozens. He won an election against Charlie Crist in Florida. Charlie Crist was a Republican too.
But I mean, Donald Trump is not a strong man. He's not a soaring orator. He's just the right kind of crazy for. I mean, can you get the masses riled up to the degree? Because they're the ones doing the harm, right? Donald Trump didn't break the glass at the Capitol, right? That was everybody else. We do have. Go ahead, Curdy.
And we'll get back to the phones, 844-967-2789. Trump was effectively a WWE villain. You know what I mean? Like,
no, he literally was a WWE villain. Not effectively. I mean, he went on WWE and shaved Vince McMahon's head. I mean, he's entertainment. Yes.
And also, as Scot Ross, our prior guest, pointed out, find him on the podcast, civicmedia.us. Trump, 16 years, got to be the boss on The Apprentice, right? Got to be the chairman of the board. As far as America was concerned, Trump was that guy.
Yeah, but I mean, we can differentiate between fantasy and fiction, right?
Really?
But they're the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Fantasy and fiction are the same thing. It was a TV show, man. He was not that. It never was. He never will be. He inherited his daddy's money, and he'd had more if he'd have stuck it in T-bills.
But a majority of people in 306 electoral college states thought he did. You know what I mean? They wanted to shake it up. They wanted that change. Well,
let me just, I know we got the phone. Let me just throw this. If you would, Evan, play the Lincoln Project mock-up cut-up of actual Donald Trump selling his cards from yesterday, if you would, please.
Everyone, this is Donald Trump. Hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln, better than Washington, with an important announcement to make. I'm doing my first official Donald J. Trump NFT collection right here and right now. They're called Trump Digital Trading Cards. My official Trump Digital Trading Cards are $99, which doesn't sound like very much for what you're getting. Buy one and you will join a very exclusive community. It's my community, and I think it's something you're going to like, and you're going to like it a lot. They also make perfect gifts. Go to collecttrumpcards.com and buy your Trump Digital Trading Cards right now before they are all gone, and they will be gone.
No purchase necessary. Only where prohibited.
Yes, they will be gone. They were gone. They all sold out. $4.4 million. You can't, sucker born every minute.
I found the laugh track a little distracting, though.
It was pretty funny.
844-967-2789. Let's see if we can sneak a few more in. Pizza Box Mike, the star of Outside the Pizza Box, noon right here on Devil Radio. What do you got for us, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Well, leave it to me to, bitch about Democrats on a Friday, but I don't know if everybody noticed or if they didn't notice. that Joe Biden has endorsed the plan of Joe Manchin to fast-track a pipeline through West Virginia. I believe they're trying to attach that to that military budget or whatever.
I had not seen that. The military budget, I believe, had already gained passage.
Yeah, well, this is a favor coming back to Joe Manchin. I guess it must be from Biden to endorse that plan, and that's the next thing to be watching for. People, are the Democrats going to vote for a pipeline right now? Climate change, future of our grandchildren and children. I can't do anything about Republicans right now, but I sure as hell can put a few words in on Democrats. Since I'm voting for you guys, I think I'll be able to criticize you at every turn.
Don't forget to tune in for Michael's show, Outside the Pizza Box, noon, originating from the Solidarity Realty Studios, Devil Radio, Madison, Wisconsin. You're listening right now, and keep it locked right here. We've got Native Roots Radio coming up next. Heafman Brothers, I believe. Party on the weekend with the MaxSync Radio guys. Thanks to our party and friends, Maggie Daun, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, and of course, the aggressive Twitter guy, Scot Ross. Happy holidays, one and all. Merry Christmas. But we'll be back on Monday.
Hello, everyone. This is Donald Trump. Hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln.
Join Max Inc. Radio this New Year's Eve as we present